Sandra Bullock enters the luxury jewelry store in Beverly Hills quietly. She doesn't draw attention to herself, and her steps are steady. Her posture is relaxed and she seems very calm. She's wearing dark jeans and a simple black turtleneck. Her makeup is light and natural and her hair is loose, not styled in any fancy way. She isn't wearing any flashy jewelry. The only accessory on her is a discreet watch, and the belt around her waist is simple and unremarkable. The store around her is full of luxury. The display cases are gleaming, showing off rare diamonds and expensive jewels that sparkle under the bright lights. The employees are impeccably dressed in fine clothes, looking ready to help important customers. Attendants are guiding high-profile clients through exclusive collections, and polite whispers mix with the occasional clink of jewelry being carefully handled. Sandra walks through the store, slowly moving between the jewelry displays. She observes every little detail, but she's not in a hurry. She takes her time, studying the fine details of the items without rushing. A salesperson passes by her but doesn't offer any help. It's not that the salesperson is rude or doesn't want to assist Sandra. It's just that in a store like this, where luxury is a symbol of status, someone dressed so simply like Sandra can easily be overlooked. On the other side of the store, Eleanor Bradford is carefully examining a diamond necklace. She stands out in contrast to Sandra in every way. Eleanor is dressed in a pristine white fur coat, and her nails are perfectly manicured. Her jewelry is shining brightly, catching the light as she moves. She has an exclusive handbag on her arm, resting there like a trophy. The expensive perfume she's wearing can be smelled before she even speaks. Eleanor holds the necklace against the light, admiring it like it's a piece of art. Her companion stands beside her, waiting for her opinion. Eleanor's friend doesn't speak, quietly standing and allowing Eleanor to examine the piece. Then, as Eleanor is looking at the necklace, her eyes suddenly lock onto Sandra. She looks at Sandra's plain jeans, the simple black sweater with no logos, and the lack of any extravagant jewelry. Her expression changes, hardening slightly. She tilts her head and whispers to her friend, not caring if anyone hears her. "Are they letting just anyone in now?" Eleanor says, her voice cold. "Look at her, jeans and a black sweater. Does she think she's at a Target store?" Eleanor's friend smirks slightly but doesn't say anything. They both continue to watch Sandra from across the store. A few of the store employees, more attentive now, hear the comment and exchange quick glances. Sandra, of course, hears the remark too, but she doesn't react. She just keeps walking around, looking at the jewelry display with a small smile on her lips. She doesn't feel the need to justify herself or respond to Eleanor. Her calmness, her lack of any emotional reaction, makes Eleanor's words feel even more hollow. But Eleanor isn't done. She's determined to make sure everyone knows how she feels, and she adjusts the fur coat over her shoulders before stepping forward. She wants to make Sandra know exactly what she thinks. She doesn't whisper this time. Instead, Eleanor speaks loudly enough for everyone to hear, her words intended to make a clear statement. "Oh, sweetheart, are you lost?" she says, the words dripping with sarcasm. The costume jewelry section is in the mall next door. This time, her words have an immediate effect. The air around them seems to freeze for a moment. A few people who were browsing the store stop and look around. One customer, who had been checking out a gold bracelet, pauses and tilts his head slightly toward the sound of Eleanor's voice. The sales associate who had previously ignored Sandra now watches the scene carefully, holding a tray of diamond earrings. It's clear that everyone is paying attention to what's happening. Sandra doesn't move right away. She takes a slow breath and blinks once, absorbing Eleanor's words. She doesn't rush to answer or even react. Her expression stays calm, unreadable. It's as though Eleanor's comment isn't important to her at all. Sandra slowly slides her fingers across the surface of an emerald ring inside one of the displays. Without looking at Eleanor, Sandra offers the faintest of smiles. Then she turns away, not to respond to Eleanor, but simply to continue looking at another jewelry display. It's a small, subtle gesture, but it's powerful. By doing this, Sandra is making it clear that Eleanor isn't worth her attention. The tension in the room tightens. Eleanor blinks quickly, caught off guard. She wasn't expecting this. She had been hoping for some kind of reaction, maybe sarcasm or even embarrassment. She thought Sandra might defend herself or respond in a way that could lead to more tension. But instead, Sandra just ignored her completely. Eleanor feels a sudden flush of irritation rise in her chest. Sandra's complete lack of response bothers her more than anything else could have. Eleanor had expected Sandra to engage in some way to fight back. But the fact that Sandra didn't even acknowledge her words? That stinks. It makes Eleanor feel small, and that is something Eleanor cannot stand. Eleanor shifts uncomfortably and adjusts her fur coat over her shoulders. She's trying to regain control over the situation, but she knows something has changed. Sandra is no longer reacting to her, and that feels like a defeat. Eleanor takes another step forward, hoping to make her presence known. This time she's determined to show everyone who's in charge. But before she can say anything else, another voice cuts through the silence. It's deep and steady, calm but somehow commanding, with a weight that makes everyone in the room stop and listen. "Funny," the voice says, "I was just thinking that class has nothing to do with expensive jewelry." The words hang in the air and the silence in the store shifts. It's not loud, but it's enough to capture everyone's attention. The murmurs and quiet conversations stop, and even the employees who had been busy helping customers freeze for a moment, sensing the change in the atmosphere. Eleanor feels a chill crawl down her spine. She turns slowly to see who spoke. When she turns, she sees him. The man who spoke isn't shouting or demanding attention, but there's something about his voice that makes everyone stop and listen. It's calm, steady, and effortless. It draws the attention of the room without him trying to do so. The employees who had been pretending not to notice before are now looking at each other, exchanging glances as if they too feel the shift in the room. The store is charged with a new energy, and the previous tension feels even more intense. Eleanor feels a sudden shiver run through her, though she doesn't fully understand why. Her pulse quickens as she looks around, sensing that something has changed. The control she once had in the situation is slipping away. At that moment, Eleanor realizes she's not the one with the power here anymore. She feels small and uncomfortable, and though she wants to regain her sense of control, she doesn't know how. The man's words, simple but strong, have altered the mood in the room. And for the first time, Eleanor feels like an outsider in the very space she had hoped to dominate. The tension between Sandra and Mark Eleanor grows, and now she stares straight at the entrance. A few customers who were busy looking at expensive jewelry suddenly stop and start looking at the door. Their attention shifts completely, and their curiosity shows in their eyes. Sandra doesn't seem surprised. She has seen this before, and she knows that voice anywhere. Eleanor slowly turns her head and sees a tall man walk into the jewelry store. He's wearing a black jacket and leather boots. His posture is calm and relaxed, like he's just walking through the store without a care in the world. But even though he doesn't act like he wants attention, something about him changes the atmosphere in the room. The man isn't wearing any fancy clothes or designer brands. He doesn't stand out like the others in the store, who are all wearing sharp suits and expensive labels. But even so, everyone's eyes are drawn to him. There is something about him, something different, that makes him the most noticeable person in the room. Eleanor feels her pulse quicken, not because she recognizes him, but because of something else she can't quite explain. It's a strange feeling, like the air in the room has shifted. The employees in the store stand up straighter, as if paying more attention. Some of the customers, who had been lost in their own world of luxury jewelry, now look up and start staring at the man. A soft murmur spreads across the room. One person whispers, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" And another person says, "He's with Sandra Bullock." Eleanor feels her heart skip a beat. She's heard those names before, of course, but now she suddenly realizes who this man is. It clicks in her mind. This is Keanu Reeves, the famous actor everyone loves. And standing right next to him is Sandra Bullock, one of the most well-known actresses in the world. Eleanor's stomach feels like it's been turned upside down. She doesn't know what to do with the feeling. She feels like she might be sick. The moment hits her all at once. She had just been rude to Sandra Bullock, and now, standing next to her, is Keanu Reeves, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Eleanor tries to stay calm, but her mind is racing. She can't believe what's happening. She's embarrassed, deeply embarrassed, because now she realizes just how wrong she was to try to put down Sandra. Keanu doesn't rush or act like he's in a hurry. He adjusts the collar of his jacket slowly, his eyes briefly meeting Sandra's. There's a moment of silent understanding between them, like they've known each other for a long time. Then Keanu turns his attention to Eleanor. For just a second, their eyes meet. Keanu doesn't speak right away. He doesn't need to. His gaze is calm, but it feels like it's holding a message, and Eleanor feels it deeply. His eyes say everything. There's no judgment in his gaze, no sense of superiority, but there's something worse. He knows exactly who Eleanor is. He knows what she said, and he isn't impressed. Eleanor feels like she's been hit with something invisible. She's never been the one to feel small, but right now she does. Her throat feels dry, and she wants to say something, anything to take control of the situation again. But the truth is, she can't think of anything to say. She feels completely stuck. Her mind races, trying to think of a comment, a witty remark, something to make her look good. But the silence around her is deafening. There's nothing she can say that will fix this. And for the first time in a long time, Eleanor has nothing to say. The people around her are also noticing the change. The employees who had been a little hesitant before, now stand up straighter, and a sales associate who had been unsure of how to treat Sandra is now suddenly extra professional. The customers are whispering to each other, exchanging wide-eyed glances. Some of them are even holding their breath, as if they can't believe what's happening in front of them. Is that really Keanu Reeves? Someone whispers, and another person adds, he's with Sandra Bullock. The whole store, once filled with quiet conversations and polite transactions, is now completely focused on the two famous stars standing in front of them. Eleanor feels the weight of it all. The store, which had once been her domain, now feels like a place where she's out of control. She's used to being the one who has all the attention, the one who calls the shots, but now she's the one who's being ignored. Sandra Bullock, calm and unbothered, is standing right there, as if she knew all along that she was the one everyone should be paying attention to. And Keanu, with his quiet confidence, isn't saying anything, but just by being there, he's completely changed the situation. Eleanor forces herself to smile. She can't let them see how rattled she feels. She has to regain control, even if she doesn't feel like she can. She looks at Sandra, her voice polite but filled with an underlying bitterness. Women like us, Eleanor says, trailing her fingers over her diamond necklace, need to maintain a certain standard. She wants to remind Sandra that she's just an actress, someone who might not belong in the same world as Eleanor, someone who should be put in her place. But Sandra doesn't flinch. There's no change in her expression, no sign of discomfort. She just looks back at Eleanor with an unreadable gaze, as if she's seen this kind of thing 100 times before. Eleanor feels the humiliation building inside her, but she refuses to back down. She lifts her chin, trying to look confident, even though she feels anything but. Then Keanu does something that surprises her even more. He steps closer to Sandra, his presence becoming even stronger. Every step he takes feels like it carries more weight than the last. Eleanor can't ignore it. She knows she's not the center of attention anymore, and she feels like she's losing her grip. Keanu turns to Sandra and says without hesitation, "That necklace would look perfect on you." The words hang in the air, and the silence becomes even deeper. Eleanor feels her stomach drop. What did he just say? He didn't call her Sandra like everyone else. He called her Bullock, like she was a famous person, which she is. The realization hits Eleanor hard. She hadn't just insulted an ordinary woman. She had insulted Sandra Bullock, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. And now, Keanu Reeves is standing beside her, making it clear that Sandra is the one he's supporting. The employees in the store notice this too. The sales associate who had been hesitant to help Sandra now stands up straighter and looks even more professional. The customers start whispering again, exchanging knowing glances. Some of them are shocked, and Eleanor can feel their eyes on her. She really tried to put down Sandra Bullock, someone says, and another person mutters, "Unbelievable." Eleanor feels like she's sinking into the ground. She's used to being the most important person in the room, but now in this space she feels like she doesn't matter at all. But Eleanor is not one to give up easily. She's always been good at twisting things in her favor, at making people see things the way she wants them to. She won't let this situation defeat her. Even though she's deeply embarrassed, she forces herself to smile again, hoping she can still turn things around. She turns to Keanu and speaks softly, as if she's just playing along with him. "You're right, Keanu, true luxury isn't just about what we wear, but let's be honest, a little elegance never hurts anyone." Her voice is light, almost playful, like she's agreeing but not really admitting it. Keanu doesn't answer her like she expects. He just looks at her with that calm, steady state of his, like he sees right through her. Then he says something that completely catches Eleanor off guard. "You know, I always find it funny when some people try to act better than others, but what really matters is how we treat people." His words hit her hard. It's like a punch straight to her pride. Eleanor feels the sting of embarrassment deep inside her, more than she ever imagined possible. The employees in the store are watching her closely, waiting to see what she will do. The customers exchange knowing glances, barely able to hide their amusement. And Sandra, without a single word of triumph, simply smiles. It's not a smug smile, not a victorious grin, but just a small, effortless smile that says everything. That smile feels worse than anything else. Keanu's words land like a heavy weight on Eleanor. She can feel the eyes of everyone on her, the silent judgment that's almost too much to bear. She doesn't know what to say. She wants to defend herself, make a sharp remark, But there's nothing left to say. The truth is already clear. She has lost. Eleanor Bradford, the woman who always controlled every situation, now has no control at all. Her white fur coat, once a symbol of sophistication and importance, feels suffocating. She can't breathe in it anymore. She needs to leave. Without another word, she turns on her heel and walks out, her heels echoing sharply on the polished marble floor. She grips her phone tightly, hoping to escape this moment, but deep down, she knows this humiliation will stick with her. The crisp Beverly Hills air greets her as she steps outside, but it does nothing to cool the heat burning in her cheeks. Eleanor has always been in control, always had the last word, but now, for the first time in a long time, she feels utterly powerless. She walks aimlessly down the sidewalk, her mind racing, trying to process what just happened. The humiliation, Keanu's quiet but commanding presence, Sandra's calm, silent victory, everything is swirling around her. Keanu's words keep echoing in her head, "What really matters is how we treat people." She clenches her jaw, wishing she could dismiss it, telling herself it was just an incident, a misunderstanding. But she knows it's not. Deep down she knows he was right. And she knows that everyone in the store saw it too. She can't run from it. Eleanor stops walking and finds herself standing in front of another luxury boutique, though she's not looking at the jewelry in the window. It's her own reflection she sees staring back at her, and she doesn't like what she sees. She's always prided herself on being in control, always thought that her wealth and image gave her power. But now, for the first time, she sees herself differently. She's never really thought about her actions before, never had to. She's always been surrounded by people who share her values, people who laugh at her sharp comments, people who reinforce the idea that money and image are the only things that matter. But now that world feels empty. What happened in that jewelry store made her realize something painful. She wasn't respected. She was feared. And there's a huge difference between the two. Keanu and Sandra didn't fear her. They didn't react with anger or try to tear her down. Instead, they simply showed her that she never had the kind of power she thought she did. That realization hurts Eleanor more than anything else. It's a wound to her ego that she can't easily ignore. She stands there, feeling the weight of this truth. Her pride is crushed, and yet there's something else bubbling up inside her. It's not anger. It's not frustration. It's relief. Eleanor doesn't know where it comes from, but she feels it. For the first time in a long time, she's tired of pretending, tired of playing a role that never truly fulfilled her. Maybe it's time for something different. Maybe it's time for a change. Hours later, Eleanor sits in her car, still holding her phone in her hands. She's opened the social media app multiple times, scrolling through posts, but she doesn't know what to say. Her mind is still racing. Finally, she takes a deep breath, clears her thoughts, and starts typing. "Today I learned that you can buy a diamond, but you can't buy class. Thank you, Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves, for this lesson." She hesitates for just a moment, thinking about the words she just wrote. They feel strange but also honest. Without overthinking it, she presses post. She doesn't know what kind of responses she will get. Maybe people will laugh. Maybe they will think she's being dramatic. But for the first time, she doesn't care. Because this time, she's not doing it for anyone else. She's doing it for herself. Maybe this is the beginning of something new, something real. Maybe for the first time, she's ready to learn and grow. The phone screen goes dark, but the comment that catches her attention is one she didn't expect. "The first step to change is recognizing where we went wrong." Eleanor reads the words again, slowly letting them sink in. She's never thought about it that way before. She's always been so focused on being perfect, on staying in control, that she never stopped to think about where she might have gone wrong. But now, for the first time, she wonders what if instead of feeling hurt or embarrassed, she saw this moment as a chance to grow? What if she could learn from it? What if she could become better? Eleanor doesn't have all the answers, but for the first time, she wants to find them. It's a small step, but it's something. For the first time, she feels the desire to change, and that's a powerful thing. Eleanor sits there, still holding her phone, watching Sandra disappear into the crowd. It's strange, but she feels a sense of peace. She doesn't fully understand it, but she knows that in that moment she made a choice. A different choice than she would have made before. Maybe this is the real beginning of change. She could easily go back to her old life. She could return to the world of luxury and exclusivity, pretend this whole thing never happened. She could put on her mask again and go on living the way she always has. But deep down, Eleanor knows that if she does that, she will never be happy. She opens Instagram again, and this time, there's no hesitation. She starts typing, her fingers moving quickly across the screen. "I've learned that class has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with character. I'm still figuring out who I am beyond what I own, but I know I want to be better, not for status, but for myself. She reads the words over and over. They feel real. Honest. She takes a deep breath and hits post. The notifications start rolling in, likes, shares, comments. But Eleanor doesn't need to check them. This one means more to her than anything else she's ever shared. Because for the first time, it wasn't about impressing anyone. It was the truth. And that truth finally is enough for her. She doesn't know if this change will last. She doesn't know if she will be able to keep up this new version of herself. But for the first time, she isn't afraid of the journey. And maybe that's enough to begin. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories filled with adventure, mystery, and excitement. Your support means the world, and it helps keep these stories coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.